Hey listeners, this is an audio-only version of the podcast. We had some annoying technical difficulties this week, and you'll be seeing our pretty faces on the next episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the Earthborne Games podcast. How's your mouth? I'm your host, Anders Carlson, and joining me today is Andrew Fisher. How's it going, Andrew? How's your mouth?
My mouth is fine now because we've been trying to record this episode for 50 minutes. For all of you just joining us, we're on take 8. How many times have we recorded, Anders?
It's probably like the 8th try. If you're including the test tries, yeah.
There's been some slight debugging today. Hopefully, if you're hearing this episode, it means we got it all working and it all recorded correctly.
Yep.
If you're not, then we are just having a nice conversation for an evening that no one else will ever witness. Anders asked about my mouth because 50 minutes ago, my mouth was still kind of burning from eating all sorts of spicy food for reasons that will become apparent later. But now, 50 minutes later, I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm glad. And I can't wait to find out why your mouth was burning 50 minutes ago. Also joining me is Andrew Navarro. How's your mouth?
Anders.
How's your mouth?
My mouth is fine. It's just fine. I've had plenty of time to drink water.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting nice and loose. This is probably the loosest we've ever been at the beginning of an episode. Because we've been talking for an hour already. So yeah,
right.
Feeling good. The mouth is great.
Yeah,
it's never been better.
Limber. And joining us, special guest, is Cory. Cory DeVore, is that how you say your last name?
That is how you say it.
Great.
DeVore.
Cory is a guy who works on Earthborne, and he's going to tell us a little about himself. Ready? Go. No.
Oh man.
Do you want to just give us a little rundown of maybe what brought you to Earthborne Games? What kind of experiences you've had in life? How your mouth might feel at this moment?
Well, to start off, my mouth is great. Full of stupid things to say, like always. I started off so the way I know Andrew is through Fantasy Flight. Actually, Andrew's is through Fantasy Flight. We worked together back then, and I have a big background in 3D. I was the lead sculptor for Fantasy Flight for a while. Before that, I did freelance for Fantasy Flight, which is really funny because Andrew Navarro, not Fisher, helped me get some of that because I actually had like a phone interview with him. Like forever ago, and like 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, at least. Maybe 12 at this point.
Oh yeah, probably.
You were applying for a art coordinator position back when the art directors were still called art coordinators.
Yes. and that was wild. That was like my first phone interview, I think, with like a company in the industry. So that was pretty wild, and that was forever ago. And Andrew's like, you're very young. You could cook a little longer. How about some freelance? Which I had, mostly 3D experience. But yeah, so I have a lot of experience while I was doing that freelance. I worked in advertising, so I have a lot of experience with animation and advertising, and then sculpting, and just all over the place. I have a weird past, but yeah, a good weird past.
Yeah,
but yeah, and then I basically not that long ago, I think I asked Andrew to meet up for coffee. I was like, hey, been a while. Like we haven't talked in like 2 years because of like COVID and stuff. And I told him I was doing freelance again, and he was just like, I have things that need done stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I can do anything.
Like Andrew.
Yeah, very elegant.
Yeah. He's just like that. That's exactly how he said it. And I was like, I have stuff I can do. And that was how it all began. Just like basically reconnecting, and big life changes throughout the COVID era. Just kept changing my focus from sculpting, trying to get back to like animation work. And here we are now.
Yeah.
What kind of animation do you like to do? Or like what? Go ahead.
Well, a mix of things. Most of my experience is like 3D. I use Blender a lot, and then I like long time ago I learned like Maya and like 3ds Max, and I taught Maya and 3ds Max. But I love animating in Blender. It's my thing. I started dabbling. I really wanted to dabble in like stop motion for a while, and then, but honestly, like I've always wanted to do like hand drawn 2D animation, or like some kind of hybrid of that in 3D, but like. That hasn't even been like a thing until pretty recently, because it's such a like, I don't know. They're like, so if especially if you know 3D animation or 2D animation, they're just so dissonant, like in how they function that like, but nowadays there's like ways to draw in 3D, and there's ways to make 3D look 2D. And I love the idea of like kind of mashing those things together, because you can sort of get the speed benefits of 2D animation. Well, some of it's super slow, and then 3D animation has parts of it that are super slow and super fast. And so it's like, can you take the fast parts of both and smash them and be like, can you make something really cool really quickly now? Like, because you have the best of both worlds. So I've always been really fascinated by like really hacky kind of like Luddite ways of like working with tools that are modern, and like, and being able to do cool looking stuff, or like tell a cool story with as like little as possible, you know? So yeah, I'm really fascinated by that. So that's what I want to do, is like do more weird stuff.
So when you mentioned 2D and 3D, the thing that immediately came to mind was the magic carpet escape from the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. But that's not what you're talking about, right? Where it's like 2D on top of 3D. You're talking about not something else.
That, yeah, like there's been like, you know, using 3D and 2D films for a while. Like even like Princess Mononoke has a bunch of stuff, like with compositing and whatnot. But I'm actually really interested in like the visual representation of like there's like ways to draw with 3D now. And like, there's ways to take like 3D objects and like do weird rendering tricks so that you get all the benefits of animating in 3D. But you like, also there's ways to break 3D more. Because that's the other thing, is like 3D is always very rigid, because it's like very like bone controlled and stuff. And 2D is very expressive, because you can literally just keep drawing the arm getting longer forever, you know? And so it's like now there's so many different ways to like sculpt 3D. That is almost like you get claymation benefits, and like, but it's like more accurate and more like easy to clean up and stuff. So I don't know, there's like a lot of cool ways to do stuff that's just like hasn't existed until the last couple of years, really.
Well, and
they're super accessible.
There's been a few things that kind of merge, like obviously into the Spider-Verse, but also like Arcane, right? Like all the smoke effects and everything are all hand-drawn 2D layered on top of the 3D. And they kind of composite the two together so that like they can kind of do cool hand-drawn smoke curling in very artistic ways. With the 3D animation.
And then like also just like, you know, doing cooler, more like there's more 2D artists that came from painting and concept art that like, because of stuff like Blender being like open source, they could just like pick it up as a hobby, or like as a way to like do 3D mock-ups of like a scene, and then they can kind of paint over it, you know. But then eventually they were like, well, what if I just paint on it and then like keep it, and I can change the camera angle? And it's like so now you have like more people that are 3D artists that like started as 2D artists. So you have like more expressive texture maps that aren't like made by like previous programmery kind of minded people.
Mm-hmm.
And Arcane is full of that. And then also art directors too are like more willing to be like, you just do like 2D drawing over your frame, and then like you animators can like take the characters and like break them. So like for like a frame, you know, like they'll just like break template to like, so Arcane's full of that, for example, where they just constantly squash and stretch and just kind of mangle these models because they look good just from the camera view, you know. So it's really cool. There's like so many cool things, and I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too. Animated trailer for Earthborne Rangers.
I would love to. That is like on the Cory would like to do things, which is like so to get to back to the Earthborne stuff. Like pretty much, like initially I was like, I'll just do whatever, you know, we can do generalist stuff. I just take on whatever work you guys need. But Andrew actually had like an idea for, you know, what I could focus more on, which was to have me handle more marketing stuff, which especially as stuff gets released and things and me keep moving on, that I'll probably have more of a focus on animating things and helping get all the cool stuff in the world of Rangers in front of people, not just through the product, but also through marketing materials, and not just through like, hey, click here, it's on sale now, like ads, you know, but like,
yeah,
you know, stuff that actually kind of adds to, like, if you look at companies like Riot Games and stuff, I mean, they've done so much for themselves by leaning into storytelling content rather than just, you know, paying for, I mean, they pay for that. That's hard to quantify because they also pay for like whatever they want. But when they were smaller, when they were smaller, they actually did start with like, you know, animated content, which got them into the giant corporate entity that they are today, which is not what we want. But you know, I do have like a lot of respect for people who kind of go this like, we just want to make stuff that's cool, not make stuff that's like gonna get clicks, you know, route. And that's what we've talked about a little bit. You know, it's just everything should just kind of service the goal, you know, of like what the games and the company want to do, rather than just be as successful as mindlessly possible, you know.
Well, we've done so much world building work, you know, and we have so much to the kind of Earthborne setting that we've made, that, and we can only show a glimpse of that through the game, right? What the game has bandwidth for, right? You know, we have the art book and stuff, but by doing more involved marketing, like you said, Cory, stuff that goes beyond just like click here, we can, and I think our last couple months of Kickstarter updates kind of show this as well. We can kind of build the setting and share stories and share the setting through the marketing material. And so the marketing material can be more than just like something to collect eyeballs on our website, right? Instead, it is a way for us to kind of share this world we've built. And so I think, Cory, your experience is going to help do that in very cool, exciting ways.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah.
Don't want to disappoint nobody.
Who does? Well, thanks for being here, Cory. You're just going to be joining us and, you know, chiming in with whatever you want to say. Okay. Is that the idea? Right?
Yeah.
You know, Cory's here with us. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get to the listener questions then. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
let's jump in.
a few. We've got one here from Iron Shepherd via YouTube. And they ask, what separates Earthborne Rangers from other card games you have played in the past? What is your history with card games?
Andrew, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've spent a lot of time talking about this in general over the course of these several episodes, as like trying to describe what makes Earthborne Rangers different. Maybe not by directly comparing to anything, but I mean, I feel like the biggest differentiator that leaps to my mind immediately is just the focus on story and the way that it interacts with the campaign guide and the way that the narrative unfolds with the help of that guide, which I think without playing it, one might think that is similar to Arkham Horror, the card game, or Lord of the Rings, which has these kind of a little narrative asides, usually in between the scenarios. But as it's woven into the gameplay, there's really nothing quite like that I've ever played. It's a lot different in other ways too, I think, but it's very experiential, and I think trying to describe it is difficult. But I think when you sit down and play, I think you'll find that it does kind of scratch an itch that you didn't know you had. In a lot of cases, that's often feedback that I get when I play with people for the first time.
Well, Cory, you sat down and played the game fairly recently with Andrew. And you have some experience with other like kind of competitive card games and stuff. Like I know you've played like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Or at least you like to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh.
I do.
But anyway, so what was your reaction after kind of sitting down and playing through the prologue with Andrew?
Yeah, I've also played Arkham Horror and plenty of FFG games. Although I haven't played like Lord of the Rings and like the co-op game. But I will say I think like I did find a similar thing where it's like it was like really refreshing. It felt like, so there's experiences in like video games, right, that I love. I love certain like there's certain games that like I find myself I like latch onto like a gameplay loop of like different types of games. And I do tend to love like open world games. Like I'm like a big MMO nerd, and I'm always like complaining that nothing is like old WoW, or something, because it's so open and it feels so like you can just like not read quest text and like go to the wrong place, And I like that. I don't feel like that's often something you can capture in a tabletop game. Like Arkham Horror, I was really excited about because I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna have like this cool thing. But it's such a like, it has this such like a timed escape room vibe that is fun, but it does like, I don't do escape rooms because I don't like that sensation of like, oh gosh, we're going to run out of time and our money is like not worth it because we all failed. And that one guy that's like really good at escape rooms is going to complain at us the whole night that we failed. So, you also can kind of get people who are like really into it and want to like kind of control the flow of the game too, because they want it to go well, or they've played it before. And I feel like playing Earthborne Rangers, it's like I didn't feel any of that. I didn't feel like there could be like an alpha gamer moment, and I didn't feel like there would be like, it felt like something I would experience in something that was more like an open world multiplayer game that's like a video game, because it felt more, I don't know, like you're kind of just discovering things about the mechanics, right? And I liked that the prologue has like I guess I don't know how much I can say about the prologue.
Say as much as you like.
It's the first thing people play.
Yeah, like, there's like a deck buildings. You like build your deck as you kind of play that prologue. And I really liked that because it's sort of like functions as like a good like video game tutorial, And I don't see that in card games a lot, where there's sort of this, you're going to do this and then we're going to give you a little more and we're going to do this. It's kind of like, you can press A to do a light attack, and then you're going to do a light attack on like some stuff. And it just felt really good because it feels really natural. And it's not something that I've really played other tabletop games that have a similar experience. I always feel like it's just like a dump into
Mm-hmm.
a thing, and there's not a lot of thought given to that type of entry. And I think even after playing the prologue, I can already imagine how the rest of the game could go, and also how it could not go, because I know there's stuff that you could never see that's like in the deck because you just never draw it, and that's really exciting to me because it feels like this living world, like an NPC that didn't spawn when I was in Barrens, like, and I love that. I think that's super cool. So for me, it's really exciting, and it fits the type of love I have for open world video games, that I feel like there's a big hole in that for tabletop. So
Yeah.
Wow. What an endorsement. Yeah. Fisher.
Well, yeah, I guess we spent a bit of time on this question, but really quick, we've talked a lot about high level what makes our game different, and so you can go check out our other podcasts for some of that. But one thing this question kind of made me think of is something that I've actually been thinking a lot about while working on the rulebook and how to teach people the game. Is one of the things that makes it different from other games is also makes it a little tricky to teach, because players come into it with these assumptions from other games, and that is how many different ways there are to overcome a situation. And I'm not talking high level stuff, but just like in the moment, I have a few cards in front of me, and like how I think about those cards. In a lot of other kind of, especially co-op card games, all of these cards are usually like obstacles to some degree or another. And usually you overcome these obstacles in a specific way. Like, oh, I have to kill these obstacles, or I have to like study this obstacle or break this obstacle, right? How do I most optimally do that? But Rangers has lots of different ways you can approach a situation. You can use your weapon to harm the thing. You can try to connect with it to clear it, to kind of connect with the animal and like, come to an understanding with it so you can pass. You can just avoid it and like kind of temporarily get around it. And there's a few different ways you can potentially evade it. In the end, you like, based on your deck and stuff, you have like a bunch of different options for how to deal with even this one card. And then when there's a few on the board and they interact, your choices are really deep. And also like how you approach situations and what your goal is in an area may be very different. Some players might just be exploring. Some people might want to talk to somebody. Some people may want to travel away. And so just the sheer number of even just turn to turn, turn by turn, the different options for how you approach the gameplay is very different than a lot of other games, where a lot of other games are this optimization puzzle as to how you optimally solve one problem. And Rangers is a lot more about like presenting you with all sorts of different options and then deciding which approach you want to take. And like I said, this has actually been a little tricky in like teaching the game and making people kind of understand that, they're open to they can be open to all these options, because a lot of other games kind of funnel you down a single path. And so, and there's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy a lot of those like kind of optimization puzzle games, but it's been kind of tricky to break people out of that headspace. It usually takes a couple of sessions to really get them there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, speaking on that, I do think something that I felt when we went through a couple rounds was like, there was times when there's just like, you kind of just leave stuff, like unfinished. You're just kind of like, well, I guess we just walk away because we're out of energy. We just like, we're done. Like, I don't think that's something I've experienced in like, even in RPG usually. There's always like a checklist. There's always like we came here to do this thing. And sometimes you're just out of energy and you need to like stop and like leave some things uncleared. You didn't perfectly do everything. And it does make me think, like I was talking about WoW Classic earlier, like of times where it's like, oh, I just need to go over there and just drink some water because my mana's low. And then while I'm over there, I guess I'll turn in these 2 quests and then I'll like come back and finish the other one,
Oh yeah, in Rangers,
I did feel
in Rangers sometimes leaving is a huge relief. I've had areas getting super out of control where I'm just like, there's animals showing up, there's like, like things falling on me, and I'm just like, I got to get out of here, and I use a trick to like, I use my explorer deck to find a hidden path and just like travel away before this area gets completely out of hand on me. So sometimes fleeing is like actually a huge relief. But you're right that like when you come into it, you have this expectation of like finishing an area or overcoming that challenge.
Kind of mindset. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The tableau is open and it's time to clear it, and that's it. That's all you think of. Clear
I think that there are people who could play that way, though. I think that will be it's really challenging to try to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like essentially like 100% an area every time you go to it.
Yeah,
that's going to be really hard to do, but I think people will try, and I think people will succeed, especially if they play longer.
You can do it.
You can do it.
Cool. All right, our next question comes from Mware Inc. via Discord. They ask, will a PDF of the rule book be released before manufacturing begins? I know other Kickstarter projects sometimes do this to allow backers to review and find potential issues before printing.
Yes, I think it will be available. But that's been my plan, because we're also still planning on updating our TTS mod and then releasing like a updated version of a demo. And the rulebook, I imagine, will be part of that as well. But as far as putting it in front of backers to proofread for us, that I don't think that'll be the goal. Like if you find something, that's great, but we're not going to put you to work proofreading our rulebook.
Right.
We'll have tested it and have it proofread by a professional proofreader, and so I mean, obviously, everyone who's familiar with purchasing games knows that there are typos that slip through. Like I feel like every RPG product I ever open up, I flip open to a page and go, oh, yep, there's the typo. Mm-hmm. It's like clockwork.
Yeah.
So yeah, people find stuff like that. I'm sure that it's entirely possible, but the plan is not to release it to get people to QA our rulebook for us. But yeah, it should be available. And if you spot something or have a question, then we can start building our online FAQ.
Yeah. How sad will you be if you find a typo after publishing?
It happens.
It always happens.
Yeah.
It always happens.
Not sad.
The very first product I officially led was a source book for the Deathwatch RPG. This is a Warhammer 40,000 RPG, and I completed it. I got the very first like print sample. So the factory sends the first one off of the belt, and you look that over, and I flip open. And there's these like section headers along the side of the page, and the introduction says "Introcution."
Oh man, that's a big one.
It was huge. I don't know how like our proofreader messed it.
The first word.
So and it was just spelled wrong, and but because it was built into the frame, the spell check obviously wasn't going to catch it because it wasn't like text in InDesign that was going to get caught.
Oh man,
we did manage to fix it for subsequent printing, but people with the very first printing of what was that, Achilles Assault, have one with Introcution in it, and so
nice.
That really I was mortified. I thought I'm like my career is over.
Those are the toughest ones though. Like we had a Game of Thrones chapter pack. I remember that we went to press with it. It had. I don't remember. It's not a great story because I don't remember the exact word, but it had transposed letters in the title on the packaging.
Oh, on the outside.
And yeah, and that goes, that goes around a room of people who are, ostensibly, and I was one of them, paying attention to the words on the page as you're passing around, but your brain just fixes the word for you. And if you're not looking at it in the right headspace, like, you just won't catch it.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of those typos come from, especially with something like Introcution. Like your brain is just going to turn that into introduction, especially because I know the Deathwatch layout.
So
it's like, it's like presented in a vertical. You're not really reading it. It's just kind of there.
Well, yeah. And like,
you just see it out of the corner of your eye.
To your point about people not noticing it, like we were talking about it because I was just like bemoaning this, and it like, I spun around and showed it to like Mac Martin, and he just looks at it and he's like, "Oh, that's fine." And then Sam Gregor Stewart was like, Nope. That's the wrong word. And like, even though Mac was looking for it, his brain just fixed it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's wild.
Introcution.
Yeah.
Title of the
That sounds like a
title
cool
of this
movie
episode.
title.
Yeah,
It sounds like something out of 40K. An introcutor.
Introcution.
It really does.
The dark introcution.
It's such a good idea for a title that it might just be the title of this podcast episode.
No.
Oh man!
I thought it was.
Fisher, you got your second title.
I was pitching how's your mouth, or yeah.
Well, then it won't be as like. Will that ruin the joke
Yeah.
if it's the title?
I guess.
Or you say, "How's your mouth?" Dash the introcution.
I like
to
those.
we need to get Evan
multi-part.
back because clearly I'm becoming the one we give shit to, and now that Evan's gone,
Well, you brought it up last
I thought
episode.
I was going to be the title.
Yeah, just with Cory DeVore. Maybe that's the title. All right, no typos in this game. I personally, when I find a typo in a video game or whatever, it kind of, for a brief moment, it just ruins the whole thing for me. Am I weird? It's like, oh, this was made by buffoons. How did they not see that?
I think if you're not one of
trust
the
anything.
buffoons making the game, it's easy to feel that way.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
as the buffoons making games, I can tell you that there are so many words.
Mhm.
And
There's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah, and I'll take a
It's-
typo. A typo is like the least problematic thing
Yeah,
that
right,
could
right.
happen.
Mhm.
in a rule book versus like a card or like something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen other things go wrong that are more problematic. So
yeah.
I'll take a typo.
I'll take a typo. There's another good title. Okay. Next question from Davey via Discord. Is there anywhere someone can get an English version in the EU? Will that be through the EBR store as well? I like these practical questions tonight.
So is that I assume that's will you be able to purchase it after it's out, after we've printed it in the EU, from somewhere in the EU? So I'm going to answer it as if that's the question.
Sure.
That I think is kind of still up in the air at the moment. There've been plenty of teases that I've gotten of people interested in potentially distributing English in Europe, but none of those have come to fruition yet. There's also the possibility of us warehousing copies at a fulfillment center in the EU that we can distribute out of. Then that would be through the Earthborne Games web store. So if it was sold in the EU, it would be fulfilled out of that warehouse. But all that stuff's still to be determined. I think if none of these distribution deals go through, which is probably likely that they won't, I think at this stage, but who knows? I'll find out on Friday. I keep feeling like I want to get manufacturing going and commit to quantities and stuff very, very soon. So, so we need to wrap up those deals very, very soon. So if none of those go through, then I think we will have copies, whatever we have extra, and I'm not sure how many extra we'll have. We'll probably warehouse somewhere in the EU and then sell those until they're gone. So
Cool.
yes, question
Yeah.
mark, stay tuned.
We'll let you know. We'll let
Yeah.
you know when we know.
When we launch the pre-order store, once we get Cory's and our web developer are almost done with the website, and once we have that done and we get the pre-order store launched, we're going to have limited quantities available through there, and that's probably going to be your best way of getting it in the short term.
Awesome. All right, we've got a question from Sarah via YouTube. Question about regional manufacturing. Assuming you're able to do it, how will you handle the different print qualities between the manufacturers, especially when it comes to sending replacement content? As I was listening, I thought about the issues with a few expansions I've gotten where the card colors are slightly different from the base game because they were made by different manufacturers. One even had differently rounded corners to the cards. Will you be keeping extras for different regions so that when you need to send replacements, you send the same regional printing?
Yes. That is exactly how we would do it. Is we'd
Nice.
have replacement parts for different regions based on your printing. But as far as the differences between printings and differences between expansions and stuff, that's a challenge. Even if you're at the same factory, that can be a challenge to get those things to work right. And that's just the competence of the manufacturer, making sure they match what it was done before, and that's really important. And that in a card game, that's incredibly important, to match the colors, to match the style of the card. And we'll be doing everything we can possibly do to make sure that the card stock remains consistent, that the printings remain consistent from expansion to expansion. That's incredibly important. And I wouldn't be working with any manufacturer that didn't feel like they could achieve that.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Final question from Angerine Dream. I like that name. I was curious how the game is balanced to be able to take characters you made from one campaign into the next. Is it similar to Arkham, where you are able to, but it's usually recommended to start afresh unless you're wanting to break the game balancing?
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this a bit before, but the intention is that you are able to make your ranger and take them through the core set, and then the expansion that comes with it, and anything else that we release. So our intention is that you should be able to stick with your same character throughout the whole experience. And in fact, our kind of plan for the expansion is to, if people want to jump directly into the expansion content, to offer a kind of like the story so far that basically catches up your characters with where characters from the core set have been already. Yes, the game will be balanced to take that into account. That being said, there are some. We haven't made all the expansions yet, right? And so, there's kind of a question of like scaling and how the core set and your characters there will kind of grow and change. They get access to more and more rewards as our campaign goes on. We have some, and like our game, as I mentioned earlier, isn't as like linear as some. And so because of all these different approaches, you can kind of get these combos in your deck that solve things in a very specific way incredibly well, but maybe not in others, right? And so instead of like being very good at, slowly, incrementally better at the single optimization puzzle, you might be really good in one area and not really good in the other. And so one of the things we've been kind of looking at is a form of progression where you kind of, as you unlock more and more rewards for your characters and for your group, you kind of build the card pool that you have to build your ranger decks from. And so as you go on, the game will be less about building the best ranger deck you possibly can and more about building the best ranger deck for what you're currently doing. And so we're looking a little bit less at like kind of straight linear progression like World of Warcraft, where, I'm level 60 now, so I'm fighting level 60 threats, and more of a kind of like regional and challenge-based progression where it's like, oh, well, I'm, underground now, and so I need cards to be able to deal with these underground threats, or, I am up at high altitudes, so I need things to be able to deal with these kind of high altitude challenges. And so while you are taking your character throughout all of these kind of expansions throughout this larger story, it's less of like traditional progression as you might understand it from like a MMO as you just grow in level kind of thing.
Great. Thanks for the questions, everybody. Let's move on to our work stories. And we're going to talk to Cory. Cory, do you want to tell us what you've been
Yes.
working on here at Earthborne?
Yes. Well, let's see. Like lately, I mean, Navarro mentioned, I've been helping put the website, do some a facelift on the website, and that's been going pretty well. And I've been also helping with some card art stuff, doing like some card art treatments, and I did a little tiny bit of inking, stuff like that, to help out Evan. And
Have we
man,
talked,
I am like,
have we talked much about the moment art on the yet, Andrew? I don't remember what we've shared.
Not really. Well, I mean, we showed a little bit of it in the Kickstarter. There was the one moment that we showed balanced, which was line artwork that was then colored in a kind of a collage of colors underneath with some textures and stuff to show how we were going to be treating the moment artwork. But we haven't really talked about the process of making all that art to this point.
Yeah. So what are you? So why don't you tell everybody like what the process looks like from your side, Cory? Like, what do you get? What do you do? What is kind of the style of that art?
Yeah. So pretty much for the moments, we have. Oh man, what's his last name? It's Wayne.
Wayne O'Connor.
Wayne O'Connor. Yes, I knew it. Wayne O'Connor, who's awesome, and he's like cranked out all these amazing ink pieces for these moments, but they're all black and white, and they're all really like interesting, like little compositions that kind of get the mood of those moment cards, I think, pretty well. But then we wanted to do color treatments, and I think like there's so many different ways to do that. Like, do you just color them by the aspect? Do you But I wanted to experiment when Andrew and Evan basically were like, "Hey, could you take on these moments to help out?" I was really interested in playing around with the color a little bit different too, and doing like complementary colors as well. Because I always think back to like old Magic cards and how like you'd get. I think like some of the coolest mountain cards are blue, and some of the coolest like there's always like those ones that are super memorable because they were like they popped on the table. So I wanted to play around with like not just doing the same color, but like doing like little groupings of complementary colors. So pretty much I just get these ink drawings, and I kind of have to extend them sometimes. So I have to try and like copy Wayne's line art, which is very hard. Extend them to like match the frame size, or fill in little spots that just like got missed or need like a shape. And then bring in like cool panoramas, because Evan made a bunch of really amazing panoramas with some of the other artists, and bring those in as like background textures, and I kind of like paint on those and mess them up and kind of get some cool values. And then I just spend a bunch of time putting a bunch of playing with color palettes for those, and figuring out like what elements of the ink should be the aspect color, and which one should be like a complementary color, so that they kind of have this I don't know exactly, I don't want to say watercolor, I don't want to say oil, but it's like this sort of, I don't know, something a little different that kind of stands out and has a little more value and texture. And
it actually, you saying watercolor, it kind of reminds me almost of those watercolor tattoos where people will get like, it's a very crisp black and white tattoo, but then like it has the color more abstractly suggested behind it, kind of those watercolor smatterings. It kind of reminds me of that.
Talking about. Yeah.
I'm going to share one here.
Sweet.
So you can see.
Yeah. I did not know I could share things, but yeah. So this one is Ancestral Teachings, which is a spirit card, and it's basically, I mean, I wanted to make the aspect color, which is orange, kind of highlight not like an individual thing, but like the part of the scene. I almost was thinking about a lot of these when I was looking at them as like memories, kind of, or like a thought rather than like an actual action. Even though they are an action, they're almost like, they're a little more fleeting and like more. And I think that's really cool. And so anyways, here it's like the orange is kind of like, the kind of focus of that moment or that memory. And then the complementary color is sort of like everything that's not necessarily as important, but it's like the scenery, or whatever. And so each one is kind of different. It flips around where the aspect color is and what complementary colors and how many I use. But trying to do a lot of cool blending and so that these kind of come to life a little bit and have a little more three-dimensional ness to them, rather than just being all solid one color or shade.
Yeah, that's super cool. Can you what's a moment card? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so the moments they're basically you have a few different types of cards that make up your deck that represent your ranger. A lot of them are going to be your gear, so like the equipment you'll actually put on. The art for all of our gear is a lot more just kind of your traditional art. It's picturing the object as you would have them on your person. There's also like companions. They also have more traditional art because they are, if you have Oru the sheepdog with you, you can see the sheepdog and pet your sheepdog, and it's an actual physical thing. Moments are instead things you can do. They might represent a skill you have or just a thing you have to do in the moment. You play the card, it executes some mechanics that represent the thing you were doing, and then that card goes away. And so these can kind of represent skills or moments in time. And so one of the reasons we kind of went with this art style is because while a piece of gear is always going to look the same, right? It is a physical object. These moments are so contextual. They change based on the ranger and based on the situation. And a lot of them are these kind of abstract concepts like skills or talents you might have. And so by doing this kind of more abstract, dreamlike art to represent these, we can kind of make art that makes you kind of think about the thing you're doing, but allows you to kind of project your imagination onto your ranger doing their thing instead of the very specific ranger it might show in the art. The more abstract quality of the art allows you to project yourself into that situation.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that.
Plus, exactly what, like without reading moment, you can see it in your hand and be like, oh, that's a moment. I think that also helps distinguish the different card types pretty vividly.
Yeah.
Smart and so Cory, on this game. And Cory, you also mentioned that you're working on the website. So what kind of stuff are you guys doing to spruce up the website? How are you punching it up?
Well, it's mostly the homepage at the moment, but I want to take a lot of what we've done there and bring it through the rest and into new pages. But anyways, it's I wanted to capture more visual elements of like, I think currently there's a current site up, and it's like some nice big solid colors and some big pieces of art, which is great. And I kind of wanted to because the website I think could have a lot of functionality as well with like media content like videos, these podcasts, having places for art, places for world, knowledge, like a wiki type thing, not necessarily a wiki, but you know what I mean, like more rules, specific stuff. Like it can be like a pretty functional place as well, and not just like a splash page. So I wanted to bring some like artistic elements from the art into the web page itself. So just mostly it's playing with the color palette and getting some nice shapes to the different parts of the site. So hopefully it'll be up pretty soon and people will be able to see it and how it's looking, because I think I'm pretty excited about it. And I also would like to add some animation, but
yeah, I was going to ask if you're going to get to stretch that animation desire in the website at all.
I want to. I have a thing I want to do, and it might not be on the first going live, but we'll see. It's on the bonus list for this month, and we'll see if I can get to it.
Yeah, it's a big improvement, I think, over my designed in an afternoon oh no, I need to update the website before the Kickstarter ends design which we have right now.
Hey, it's got a good start to the structure, and I just wanted to play around. So,
Well, cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
So am I. All right, Fisher, do you want to talk about what you're up to?
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple weeks. I don't know. You know when like every time you try to do something, you try to solve a problem, there's like 2 to 3 more problems hiding behind that problem, and it just compounds, and you end up doing like all sorts of work you didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
House projects. You know when you do a house project and it's actually 3 house projects.
Yeah,
That's been my last couple weeks. So I'm feeling a little behind, which is compounded by the fact that I am leaving for Tanzania next week, and not a super well timed trip, but it was when Sam, my partner, was at her archaeological site over there, so it was kind of the time I had to go. But it's kind of compounding, and I'm feeling a little crunched right now, to be honest. But yeah, so my last couple of weeks, because I was dealing with all these problems, kind of felt like a random hodgepodge of stuff. I was helping our German partner put some resources together, and that made me, like I needed to do some stuff with the script for them. And there's been this one little nagging bug that was only kind of an inconvenience for English, but was stopping us in German. So I had to squash this bug. And it turns out that this bug was actually hiding in a weird thing that I'm sure some computer scientists were probably nodding their head listening to this. This bug was actually countering several other bugs in the code. So
oh no,
those bugs were entirely invisible because this other bug was basically stopping them from being bugs. But I fixed this minor inconvenience, which just revealed these much larger bugs still looming in my code. So they were like hiding, which was infuriating. And it was extra weird because like I would fix this thing and then my code would crash. And I'm like, I know for a fact that this is just a fix. I am doing like this is not breaking anything. Why is it crashing my code? And it was because it was revealing this other bug under the surface. So, that's an example. Last podcast I mentioned doing some blind tests. Those got delayed, but I'm doing one this Thursday with some people who actually heard about the blind testing on the podcast and reached out and volunteered to test. So that'll be fun. But I needed to print off some stuff for them, and my printer was out of toner, and I needed to replace toner, and then there was all sorts of problems. So I spent like way too long troubleshooting my printer. It's just been, it's been one of those times. So I'm a little flustered this week, I guess. But other stuff, been doing revisions to the rules. We got this. I don't remember if we've mentioned this before, but we've got these really cool pages in the rule book. I can probably talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got these really cool in the pages in the rule book.
I was debating whether or not we wanted to show it tonight.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not done. Not quite done.
No,
yet,
it's not quite there yet.
Just wait.
They're kind of like role-playing spreads where we kind of feature each of the backgrounds and specialties that you can choose from, and then we show all of the cards that you have to choose from in the core set on these spreads. So you can kind of, in the rule book, look over your different character options and, almost like you're in an RPG, kind of choose your options from the book itself. But all of these cards in the rule book, we can't just put full sized of every one of our cards in the rule books. We made these little kind of condensed versions, and like the scripts we used to export our cards, I just kind of adapted them to make these smaller ones. So that's all working, and those will look really cool. And then the other big thing that I want to kind of get done here before I leave the country is Andrew and I still need to play through some of the finales one more time. They're, because of their nature as these kind of big culminating moments, the story splits into different culminating moments you can do, and the fact that they're near the end of the game, like they just won during like the bulk of like external testing don't get as many eyeballs on them as some of the other parts of the game, and as these big culminating moments are very important moments. So because of that, we want to give them a little more attention. So we're going to play through those and kind of do some tweaks and changes to the campaign guide there to make sure those are all feeling right and hitting home correctly before I'm out of town. So those are kind of the focuses right now. Blind testing, polishing that rule book up, and then getting that campaign guide, the last of the campaign guide sorted out. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
All right. Andrew, what have you been up to?
I've also been working on the rulebook. I've been working on rulebook graphics stuff though. So just making it look pretty. Adding in the backgrounds, borders, images. I put together those little card entries and built those and then passed them off to Fisher to incorporate into an automated script. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, so I've been working on that. A little bit of writing in there as well. But it's looking pretty good. It's almost done. Feels like it's almost done.
Yeah, it's so close.
Yeah, it's just I think Cory's gonna work on some renders, diagrams and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm forgetting something when you ask what I'm doing right now. I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, the thing that I'm doing that's like on fire. They're not on fire, but the most important thing to do.
Yeah, currently all of our diagrams are just hacked together in InDesign. They look okay, right? They're definitely legible, but rendering them in, like any perspective is just done with the skew tool. So it's basically like just putting the card in italics, it's very isometric. Right. So by doing the renders, Cory rendering out our diagrams will make them a lot slicker.
Yeah. So I've been spending a lot of time with that. Also, I think last week I talked about or 2 weeks ago, talked about North American manufacturing, give an update there. And I think I mentioned that I was going to be having a meeting later that week. So I had that meeting, and so I wanted to get a little update on that. So we're chasing down a couple leads. There's one option that was put on the table that I think is pretty appealing. It's a little bit of a compromise, but I kind of like it, especially if we have to settle for somewhat of a compromise. It's a compromise I feel like I could definitely live with. Again, I'm being cagey because I don't want to get anyone's hopes up yet. Have a meeting again this upcoming Friday. You'll see how the timing of our podcast works with my production manufacturing meetings. It's always earlier in the week, and then at the end of the week I have the meeting. So
your caginess makes it sound like it's illegal. It's like it'll be entirely sustainable, but it's going to be printed by the mafia.
Yep, I've had to make a deal. I made an offer I couldn't refuse. Yeah, so
only 24 liters of blood.
Right. I only had to mortgage my arms and my knees. So yeah, we're still chasing down a couple leads. Actually, a domestic manufacturer reached out to me after the podcast, just say, "Hey, is there anything I can do to help?" So I sent him the information, and so waiting to hear back. And so we'll see if that leads anywhere.
Did they find you through the podcast?
Yeah, they're a backer.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I knew this podcast would be worth something someday. All right.
Yeah, it might have been through the Kickstarter update, because I did a Kickstarter update the day after the podcast posted. So it may have been from that too. But so that was pretty cool to hear from him. And hopefully he's talking to people at his company and seeing what they can do. But yeah, so we're still trying. Like I said, I have some ideas, and I mentioned I had an idea last week, and it was very similar to the idea that our manufacturer had. It wasn't exactly the same, but is close enough where I feel like I'd be satisfied if we went down that road for the time being. So yeah, it's I think it's promising, and hopefully in 2 weeks I'll come back and say yes, it's working, and I can talk more about it.
Awesome. Well, it's clear that you guys are doing your jobs, and I think the investors will be pleased to hear this.
I mean, you joke, but it's kind of that's kind of how it works, right?
It is kind of
it kind of feels that way sometimes when we're doing these work stories. It's like, all right, you passed. Good job,
I feel like for me, I feel like I have to remind myself that I don't have to work all the time. But I often feel like I am like, well, if I'm not working, then what am I doing? Do I need to justify my free time to the backers as well? And I think that's a challenging mental hurdle to overcome, because want to do right by everybody, do a good job and deliver something that I'm proud of and they'll be happy to receive.
Yeah, and leave it in the comments, you guys. Do you want Andrew to work every waking hour of his day?
Well, I'm not working. I'm not working every waking hour of the day, but I do work every day. I do work every day, at least a little bit, and sometimes I feel like that's a problem.
This whole conversation is going to make our next segment for me a little awkward.
Man, so much teasing tonight, Fisher.
I know. Well, you'll see.
Okay. Yeah.
New podcast title: Every Waking Hour.
That's a good one. I'll type. Yeah.
How does your mouth feel every waking hour? The introcution.
I'm always tempted to make the titles like a 3-parter like that, with some colons and parentheses.
Like it's the prequel of another thing.
Yeah.
Like Holy Wars, The Punishment Due.
Exactly.
2 Earthborne, 2 Rangers.
Cory, please submit title ideas to the Discord if you come up with them after the show. All right, stuff we're into. And I always start this section. I finished, what's that show with Adam Scott called? Severance. I finished Severance.
Yeah.
I loved that.
How'd you like it?
I loved it so much. Did you watch it, Andrew?
No. I watched other things.
That's good. Fisher.
Yeah, without delving into anything that could be considered spoilers, I think they both stuck the landing on the first season and also left it with a cliffhanger, which usually don't go hand in hand, but like it's it was satisfying, but also left you wanting more.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, would you feel satisfied if they did not have a second season, or would you feel
they do have a second season coming?
I know they do, but if there weren't one, would you
not entirely satisfied, but they deliver on one big thing.
I feel satisfied because it's a brilliant TV show.
Yeah,
but it leaves you wanting. It's a great cliffhanger, one of the best. It's like Lost level cliffhanger. Remember the end of Lost season 1 and 2 and 3? No, nobody watched that.
I did. Oh yeah, no, I did. Yes.
I didn't watch Lost, but I watched Leftovers, which is also Lindelof. And I absolutely adore The Leftovers. Which does have that. Actually, I think the ending of season 1 is like the intended ending, but it does leave you like, what? And like, I'm so glad they got a second season because it's really special. So my favorite.
Is it? Another thing to watch. Man. It all hits at once.
The Leftovers is like still my favorite show ever.
Oh, really?
That or Patriot, which is an Amazon original. Patriot is like incredible.
Okay, I'll watch them both. But anyway, then when it comes to playing games, I got this demo called Dome Keeper on the Steam Summer of Games thing, and I really liked it. It's really cool. Definitely check that out. But I was reading a patch update or something, and the developer was saying that they were excited to be picked up by this publisher called Raw Fury because they published this game called Kingdom New Lands, Kingdom Two Crowns. Has anybody ever played these games?
No. That sounds familiar to me.
Let me look this up because I might know. Kingdom, what, New Lands?
It's very generic. It's hard to Google just Kingdom. There's so many games.
Oh, so I have not played this, but my friend Michael Boggs played this nonstop in the room next to me.
This is like a
for like months.
2D side-scrolling empire builder kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really cool, actually. Yeah,
amazing.
It's a cool game.
I love it.
There's a sound effect when like the money drops that is very addictive. It's like a Xbox 360 achievement click clack kind of vibe,
Nice.
and I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
I would hear it in the room behind me. Oh, Michael, what was that?
I got more coins.
And he's like, just Kingdom.
I just got the iOS app version of it, and I had headphones on and I was laying in bed in the dark, and it's one of those games where it doesn't tell you anything. There's no text at all. And I love games where I don't know, it's just such a memorable introduction where you're like, what the hell is going on here? What do I have to do? There's a little ghost that leads you to this campfire and it tells you to put 2 coins there. So you put 2 coins there and then it builds, it's like a building game. But just the way it unfolds is so enthralling. But then the loop of it becomes very, very addictive. So I've just been playing that on my phone every moment I have. I haven't been this much into a game in a long time. It's only like $6 or something on the phone. I think the phone is a good way to play it. I also think it's on sale on Steam right now. So check it out. It's one of the better games I've played in years. And yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Fisher. Wait, who's next? Cory, what have you been into?
Sure. Oh man, for a while I like took a break from. I feel like I haven't been into things because I've been working so much. I've had a tumultuous like amount of work on my plate, not counting Earthborne, like before this the last year. So I've had like, I feel like I haven't watched anything in forever or like whatever. I'm trying to think like the last TV show that I watched. I feel so behind, but I have started playing video games again lately. But I mentioned earlier that I'm like an MMO nut, but I also get really addicted to like really interesting gameplay loops. And so like for a long time, I was really into Hunt Showdown, which is so cool. And then I quit for a while and I started playing the Cycle Frontier. Frontier. The Cycle Frontier, which just came out recently, which is kind of like everyone calls it like Escape from Tarkov for babies, which is kind of not true because it's also very intense, but it is like more friendly Escape from Tarkov, and it's on like a sci-fi planet, and it's really, really cool. And I was playing that, and then I reinstalled Hunt, and then I was like, oh man, this is so good. And then also I've been playing Valorant because I'm a hit scan shooter addict. And then I started playing Guild Wars 2 again. And yeah, you know. So basically, I play shit that never ends. Excuse my language. I'm like, I have all these games installed that I'm like, oh yeah, I should go beat this, play this story because I've heard it's good, like Horizon Zero Dawn and Tunic and all these things. And then all I play are stuff that just goes on forever and never ends. So you know, that's where I'm at.
Hey,
Just follow your heart.
It's a
It's
problem.
okay. No shame.
Hunt just dropped an update like today, I think. That got a bunch of new
Didn't you bring this
features.
up one time?
Oh yeah. No, my friends are have been actively messaging me while we're recording, wanting me to play Hunt. So
Hunt is great. It's so cool. The gunplay is so janky and weird and awesome, and it's there's nothing like it. And then Valorant, just Counter-Strike, but your utility is your superpowers or whatever. And I think that game is amazing. I don't know, but I'm a big Dota fan, and like I love those kinds of like games where it's like there's setups. It's like sports. You're like, go left and like set up a smoke, and like it's very like football-y, And I get really into that. Like just it's fun.
Overwatch 2? Are you excited? Do you like Overwatch? that similar?
Weirdly enough, I was weirdly enough was never into like hero shooters. So Valorant was actually, I was like nervous about Valorant but as soon as I saw it was like a Counter-Strike clone, I was like, oh yeah. But I did play a little Overstrike. I have not played 2. Is 2 co-op?
Or it just got announced, like the release date, and it's going to be free to play. I don't know.
Okay.
I think they might have the co-op mode in it, but it's still competitive. I think its main mode is competitive.
Okay.
Oh, Overwatch? It's
I didn't know.
There's very co-op, yeah. It's team-based, yeah.
But yeah, like Valorant is different than those other hero shooters like Overwatch, because Overwatch, it's all about just like these big bombastic action, and they get to it by having these really kind of bullet spongy, the characters are decently bullet spongy, they take a while to kill. You're really encouraged to do like big acrobatic moves and like, reach, right? Like there's a lot of like Team Fortress 2 style mechanics of like healing and shielding to encourage you to really smash into each other. Valorant is very like, I don't know what the exact term for it is, but like, it's like, 1 or 2 shots, you're dead, right? Like Counter-Strike.
Tactical.
Yes. And so because of that, to Cory's point, it's all set up, right? You have hero abilities like kind of like Overwatch, except you're not using those abilities as you fly into the action. Instead, you're using them to kind of like maneuver and trick other people to get the advantage for when you finally get the shot,
Yeah. So like, I would say like Overwatch is like it's like those are kind of the closest thing we had for a while to like an arena shooter, but they're like these really high time to kill games where and so like a lot of your abilities are even damage abilities, but yeah, in Valorant it's like smokes and like walls and like movement abilities. So it's or flashes, like you have a lot of ability. Everyone has like a different flash. Like one guy can like go arc his around a corner. Some people can kind of control a like bird that pops into a flash. So like, and they're really hard to look at when they go off because your screen turns into a giant colorful star that like hurts your eyes. And then it turns off and you're dead because you got flashed in the face. But sometimes it's like about like, that you're coming onto the site and where there's like spots where people could see you, and you're like trying to set up smokes so that they can't see you and they have to like find ways to peek at where you're at, and like you're kind of forcing the Hunt does the same thing with like traps. It's like you're just kind of setting up the area to your benefit rather than just being, because in Valorant and even Hunt, but especially Valorant because it's hit scan, like you literally click on someone's head and as soon as it pings the server, like it's over, so it's like you could walk on a site and some guy just clicks your head and you're like, oh, I hope you guys just you defuse the bomb because I'm gone.
Sounds like Counter-Strike. It sounds just like
it's like pretty much exactly Counter-Strike. Yeah, I love it.
Valorant is Counter-Strike with superpowers, basically.
Yeah. I'm so incredibly not interested.
It's Counter-Strike for kids, just like Cycle is Escape from Tarkov for kids. Cool. For toxic kids.
Yeah, you said kids.
That's not true.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Okay, Fisher, what have you been doing?
Yeah, well, so to our earlier conversation about working.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Every waking hour. So the combination of the last couple weeks being just compounding issues, and the fact that I'm leaving for Tanzania has led me to I'm working quite a bit at the moment. To add to it, Sam is already in Tanzania. She has been there for several weeks already. So
you have no one at home to stop you from working.
Yeah, Zoe's not going to stop me. My cat, she's just going to sit there. So I've been doing a lot of work just to try to like get everything in a place where I like it before I leave. So I haven't had that much time for stuff I'm into. I haven't been playing that many games or anything. So unfortunately, not a ton to report in this category. So, but the spicy food thing is the one kind of fun thing I have going on this week, which is a friend of mine ordered all of the hot sauces from the show Hot Ones for those of you who aren't familiar, Hot Ones is a pretty great YouTube show where they interview celebrities. Actually, like basically any celebrity you can think of has probably been on at this point. And the interviewer, he asks really good questions. He's maybe not like Nardwuar levels, but like he asks very kind of insightful, deep questions about these celebrities. And the shtick is, while he does it, they have to eat hot wings, 10 hot wings in ascending spiciness. And so as the wings get spicier, the questions get spicier, at least theoretically. So anyway, so my friend bought the sauces from this show. And so we are going to eat the same 10 sauces that these celebrities have to in ascending order. So we're doing that this weekend.
That's so awesome.
And I am
excited to try. Are you going to ask each other questions while you're doing it too? So you have to talk and eat at the same time?
We joked about
so great.
We joked about it. We better do something, because if we're just sitting there suffering, like it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
You want something to distract
question
yourself.
time.
Yeah.
Do a podcast.
Yeah.
Just
record it.
So anyway, the reason I'm having spicy food tonight is I decided that I was going to try to train myself a little. I am not very good with spice. Infamously, on like Sam and I's like third or fourth date ever, we went and got spicy chicken wings, and I was just dying, tears streaming down my face, and she's just sitting there eating them just fine. So I don't handle it nearly as well as some other people do. So I got the bright idea that I was going to like train myself in like a week. So this is probably
I think that's how that works.
So I've just been dumping hot sauce on my food at night with dinner every night, trying to kind of build up my tolerance. It has not been successful yet. I thought it might be. So I ran out of the stuff I had been eating. And so I ordered from a Thai place near me, An's. And they do spice pretty well.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of Thai places will pull their punches because it's Minnesota and they know that we're all, like completely spice intolerant here. But usually An's is pretty good about giving you the spice. And so I ordered the spiciest curry I could from them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I got it and I started eating it. And it was fine. Like, it was spicy, don't get me wrong, but like, it wasn't killing me. And I was like, oh man, is it working? Like, day 3 or 4 or whatever. Am I actually starting to build up tolerance? This is awesome. And I like trusted Ons. I was like, Ons wouldn't steer me wrong, right? Surely I've built up tolerance. But then, I got a little suspicious, but I was still feeling pretty confident. And so I have this, the hot sauce I've been using to train myself is somewhere in the range of like 300 to 400,000 Scovilles. So pretty hot. And so I took a bunch of that on a spoon and put it in my mouth, being like,
oh my gosh,
like, let's see, let's see if we, and it turns out Ons just, pulled their punches on the spice today, because that spoonful of hot sauce laid me on the floor right before this episode. I was so hot.
Wow. So before this experiment, would Tabasco like burn your mouth?
Oh, Tabasco's not like terrible. Honestly, like being married to Sam has like already upped my spice tolerance somewhat. So I wasn't as bad as I was when we first started dating. But yeah, pretty like I couldn't handle much more than Tabasco before. So yeah, I'm sure.
Can't wait.
I'm sure right now. Happens. I know. Yeah, you'll have to wait a couple podcast episodes because I think I'm gone for the next one.
You'll be gone.
Yeah. So I'll have lots of stories for the next podcast. But I'm sure somebody's going to post in the comments like, "That's not how capsaicin works. You're like not." You can't build up tolerance. You're just torturing yourself for nothing. But
I think we could tell you that.
It's not true.
People online,
you just told yourself that.
Yeah.
People online claim you can build up your tolerance.
Yeah.
So
in a week?
Sure. Not in a week, maybe.
Not usually.
Yeah. No, I think you definitely could like increase your tolerance, but I think it would take months, years, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Some people online did it over I saw a YouTube video of a guy who did it over the course of like a little over a month, and like he saw improvements.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 days. I'm doing 8 days. That's like 20% of a month.
Yeah.
Just try to like hypnotize yourself or something before you start.
Ooh, that's I
Yeah,
haven't thought
It is
about
not
that.
spicy. It is not spicy.
I'm bringing I looked up all the best like spice cures, so I'm bringing a bunch of those to help us
Just
all.
like a gallon of milk and
Milk.
Oh man,
yogurt.
I think that was like Gordon Ramsay did, right? On Hot Ones. He brought like a bag of like cheeses and breads and like fancy stuff.
He's
He's like, I don't want your milk. He's like,
slightly
I
infamously,
drink this goat's milk.
he brought lemon and lime juice, and he just took the squirt bottles and squirted them directly into his mouth at one point.
Oh, really?
Because the citric acid breaks down the capsaicin or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Man.
You gotta be like Rachel Ray and just do a spoonful of every sauce. That's what she did.
Did she?
Oh, did she really?
Wow. What
Wow.
Yeah, I remember
awesome.
Guy Fieri was on. He's like, "What'd Rachel do?" And he was like telling him about what Rachel did when she was on it because he like is friends with her, I guess.
That sounds.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, she straight up took a spoonful of every sauce. I think she didn't want the wings or something.
That sounds
she was
way
like,
worse.
Going
Though.
to a dinner thing. Yeah, so she's just like, but she's like, what, Italian, and she's just like got.
Yeah, she just tanked it.
She's also, yeah, she doesn't care.
Wow.
She's like, I'll eat your hot sauce. I love her raspy voice.
Spot on impersonation there.
Great.
Yeah, DeBomb is gonna kill you, man.
I know. I'm nervous.
That's the one I'd be nervous about.
Yeah, it seems like that gets people more than like the ones that come after.
I think it's more mental than anything. Like there's a build up to it, and maybe it's the way they edit the show too. But it's there's a lot of
it could be the flavor too.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that the bomb one is like really not flavorful.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
like
just spice.
probably really acidic.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing like for me, it's like if I have like lemonade and spicy food at the same time, the acidity of the lemonade just like compounds. Like I can't have like black coffee with spicy food either because
that's gross.
I have a really high spice level, but if you like splash acid on it, it's like I feel like the bomb probably has some really acidic flavor profile, and it's probably just like a bitter nightmare. So I wouldn't be excited to taste it, but I'd do it.
Yeah, I mean, some of those hot sauces sound pretty tasty. You could be excited for the milder ones. I would be excited.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a variety. I have heard that DeBomb is kind of gross. I think like Alton Brown, when he was on, he rated them all, and he like made a list at the end, a rating of flavor. So that was a few seasons ago. So.
Yeah, they change it up.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew. Wait,
yes,
Fisher. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's it. I'm going to Tanzania next week. It's exciting. That's it. That's everything I got going on.
NBD. All right, Andrew. Your turn.
So I finally got to the gym last week. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I went 3 out of 6 days. It felt pretty good. Yeah. And then I got busy working this week and I've fallen off immediately again. But it's all right. I was very sore. So I'm finally starting to not feel sore. So I feel like I can about ready to go back. So exercising was fun. I enjoy exercising. And when I'm there and doing it, it feels great. It feels great to exercise. Everything feels better when you exercise.
What do you do there?
For me, I do the elliptical machine for like 15-ish minutes when I start, and then I'll mix it up. I used to use this app called Fitbod, which was pretty. It's pretty good because it'll kind of you tell it what you want to do in a day, and it'll give you this assortment of exercises, and there are lots of things that I wouldn't think to do on my own. She's like, I'd like to do like upper body today, and then it'll plug it in, and it'll give you exercises based on like how much time you have to exercise, and it kind of keeps your muscles guessing. But I'm not using that anymore. But I remember all the exercises, so I just am trying to vary. I try to vary it up. So like I'll do like workout, do lifting weights and stuff. I enjoy lifting weights, but not like super heavy stuff. I did that when I was younger and I hurt myself
Mm. No.
irreparably.
Hilarious.
Yeah, but so I do a lot of kind of like mid to lighter weight with lots of repetition instead. It's a little bit easier on your joints. And then there are times too I enjoy doing yoga. Last year I did a bunch of yoga. I did really well. It was like 6-8 months of doing regular yoga. That felt really good. But again, things happen and I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's been fun. So I like to keep that up. But since I've been doing like mostly graphical tasks, I've been able to, I like to have like a movie on or, a thing on in the background, like while I'm doing graphics stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been, I've been watching or like having on in the background shows and movies for the past couple weeks. And I was also extremely hungover the day after on the 4th of July because on the 3rd we went and did like the 4th of July stuff in a town near to us, Hudson, Wisconsin, which is like 30 minutes away from here.
Mm-hmm.
We lived there for a while, so we met some friends there, did the 4th of July thing, did the fireworks, and I wasn't hungover from drinking. I was hungover because I ate too much sugar.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't eat very much sugar, and I had all these like sugary treats. And the next day, I just felt like garbage.
Really?
Yeah.
So I did not feel well. So I spent a lot of the day just kind of like lying around, binging Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
So I got through a big chunk of stuff just in that day, and then working on graphical things. So I've went through Stranger Things, season 4, Umbrella Academy season 4, a bunch of movies, like just random things I was finding and throwing on. I watched had Braveheart on one day, and then that led me to The Patriot starring Mel Gibson. Which I remember I saw that in the theater. I didn't like it very much, and then watching it again, I was like, yeah, it's kind of like Braveheart, but not as good.
Mm-hmm.
And in America.
Mm-hmm.
my story about The Patriot is we watched it in our high school history class, and our history teacher, at the scene where the cannonball takes the guy's head off,
yeah, that's very memorable.
She was like, that is the best effect in the whole movie, and played it, like rewound and then played it frame by frame as the guy's head gets taken off in front of this class of like high schoolers.
What?
Oh, that's education for you. And then the other day I checked out the Obi-Wan Kenobi series fan edit, where I don't know if you guys have heard about this thing. Someone has edited the Obi-Wan Kenobi series into a 2.5-hour movie.
Oh,
wild.
And it was way better.
Really?
Oh yeah,
that sounds my speed. Yeah.
It still had some stuff that they had that was a little not the best, but they had to keep it in just for the continuity of the story.
Yeah.
There's no other way to deliver some of that information.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube. You can find it on Reddit. There's a link to it. Okay. It's just a direct link to the guy's website.
Yeah, because I was going to watch that, so now I'm like, less time.
I think you should watch this instead of the show, and then maybe watch the show later as a curiosity. But I thought it was vastly improved. It really cleaned up a lot of the rough edges of that show and trimmed a lot of the fat. A lot. I thought it was pretty good. It's not quite paced like a movie because it's still a show.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was cool.
Are there awkward edits where like the music just cuts? And
no, actually, he did some cool stuff where he used more of the original soundtrack over. Like got rid of like the kind of the faux Star Wars-y, bland video game music that they have in a lot of those series, and use some more iconic stuff. And I thought that was interesting too.
Is it the Patterson cut? Is that
yeah, that's the one. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
James Patterson.
Interesting.
I don't think it's James Patterson.
I'll look this up.
And last night, I helped my youngest son sort his Pokemon collection, and that was pretty fun. Yeah, he's so he plays with these neighbor kids down the street, and they recently started getting the Pokemon, so that it reignited his Pokemon fire, because it's been a while since he's played Pokemon, maybe like 4 years, and now that he's older, like he's actually starting to understand the game in a way that he didn't when he was, like 6.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of gotten into trading, and then there's a game store that's like really close to my house, that he went there with the neighbor kids, and they bought stuff, and he was talking to the owner there, and they were talking about the tournament nights that they have at the store. Like it's like every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday they do Pokemon tournaments there at like 6:30. So he wanted to go to the Pokemon tournament or was it Monday? It was Monday. Yep. So on Monday night, I took him to the Pokemon tournament, and he was just brought his deck. We didn't know the format, but it was a standard format. So the guy up on the counter like looked at his deck and like rifled through it and said, like these cards are legal, these cards aren't, and it was like at this really stressful moment at the counter where the dude was trying to be helpful, but he was super, super intense. And Sam was already nervous about going to this tournament. And I had to kind of like diffuse the situation a bit. But anyway, it all worked out. Like the guy behind the counter ended up ultimately offering for him to use his own deck to play, so he could play in the tournament. And so he got to see like what an actual constructed deck, by someone who knows what they're doing, looks like. And it was interesting. I just kind of like hung around in the background, and I worked while I was there. But I was listening to him, interact with the other players, and it was really awesome. And he went so he lost the first game. He came over to me. He's like, Papa, this deck stinks. He's like, it's terrible. I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe just spend some more time with the deck to get to know it. It's like, I bet you he knows how to build decks better than you do. He's like, all right, it's a good idea. And then he goes back and sits down and is, talking strategy with the guys some more. And then by the end of the night, we were leaving. He's like, you know what? My deck stinks. This deck is awesome.
Wow.
So you could see like that it actually had a strategy about like the deck building, and could see the pieces coming together. So that was really cool to see him engage with the game on this level and have that understanding suddenly that there's a strategy here, and is excited about the strategy. So then we went back to his Pokemon collection, which isn't huge, but it's decently sized. And I went through it with him to, try to find everything that he had that was legal in standard play, because that's what he has to play with. And, maybe a volume of like this many cards in his collection. And then there's a stack like this big.
Like barely a deck.
That's legal. Yeah, it's like a bunch of trainers and stuff. It's all like the utility cards that they reprint from set to set, basically. There's a couple of good ones in there. I think Pokemon Center Lady is in there, and she's pretty good. So that was really fun. So we'll see how long Pokemon season lasts this time around. But it's pretty cool to see him interested in the gameplay more than just shiny cards.
Yeah, more than just the collecting aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
cool.
So that's fun. That's what I have going on.
Well, that's a lovely story to round out Introcution. What are the subtitles? Again, I forgot now.
How's your mouth?
How's your mouth? Introcution. Cory, thanks for joining us. It's fun having you on. You're a great guest. Yeah. Our second guest of all time. And thanks to you, Andrews, as well. And reach out to us. Listeners, ask whatever question you'd like. We answer them all. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.